There was so much going on in last week's debate that there was almost zero room for policy, with Trump deliberately avoiding answering questions with any substance and Biden struggling to articulate his points. This was especially clear during the abortion section, with Trump spewing this blatant lie after Biden said he supported Roe v. Wade.
So that means he can take the life of the baby in the 9th month and even after birth, because some states, Democrat run, take it after birth. Again, the former governor of Virginia, put the baby down, then we decide what to do with it. So he's willing to, as we say, rip the baby out of the womb in the 9th month and kill the baby.
Okay, that is obviously a ridiculous claim. There are zero abortions where a baby could possibly be killed after they were already born, because at that point, it would be an infanticide, which is illegal. It's illegal in exactly 0 places. In the English language, the word abort literally means to stop a thing in progress. You cannot stop a pregnancy once a baby is born, because that means the woman is no longer pregnant. It's like if somebody jumped into a pool and decided to abort that jump while they're already in the water. So where did this absurd claim come from? As Trump said, it all started when former Democratic Virginia Governor Ralph Northam made this unfortunate comment in 2019.
If a mother is in labor, I can tell you exactly what would happen. The infant would be delivered. The infant would be kept comfortable. The infant would be resuscitated if that's what the mother and the family desired. And then a discussion would ensue between the physicians and the mother.
That was an entirely unnecessary answer from Northam to a question about late-term abortion. Because once again, this is not late-term abortion. He's talking about the tragic, if rare, cases where parents have to decide if they want to take invasive and painful life-saving measures if an infant is born with a very low or even 0 chance of survival. It is literally a parent's worst nightmare. But that garbled answer gave immediate ammunition to Republicans to claim that Democrats were advocating for baby murder. And now, years later, with Roe v. Wade overturned and women's lives under threat, Trump and Republicans are still doing it. Now, look, I could give you a bunch of stats about how rare actual pre-birth, late-term abortions are and talk about why women might need them if their lives are in danger or if the fetus has no chance at survival. And Democrats should absolutely be talking about the women who have nearly died since Roe was overturned, and that both maternal and infant mortality are higher in states where abortion is restricted. But the truth is, Americans support abortion, and the Democratic Party should be running on that fact and not making excuses or qualifying their answers. A poll from Axios Ipsos earlier this year found that 80% of Americans, including 2/3 of Republicans, say abortion should not be regulated by the government. While Biden did call out Trump's lie after the second time Trump said it, his answers on abortion were nowhere near the forceful defense needed. While answering a question on Roe v. Wade, Biden gave a lot of qualifiers depending on the trimester and when it was up to the woman, her doctor, her doctor in the state. It should literally just be up to the woman and whatever medical professional she chooses to consult with, full stop, which is the entire point of reproductive freedom, choice. Trump also claimed that overturning Roe v. Wade meant the states got to vote on abortion. Nope. Actually, there has not been a single vote by the American people to ban abortion. The bans have come from right-wing Republican state legislatures and courts. When Americans have voted, it's been overwhelmingly to protect the right to abortion or to reject anti-abortion members, even in red states. And the Republican Party has done everything it can to prevent these votes from taking place because they fear the power and the choices of the American people. Trump also claimed that the Supreme Court had approved the abortion pill and that he wouldn't block it. Nope. Actually, the Supreme Court said the mifepristone challenge lacked legal standing, leaving the field wide open for more lawsuits. And Trump wouldn't have to block the abortion pill as president. As we've said before on this show, Project 2025 directly references the existing Comstock Act, which could be used to ban the mailing of abortion medication, which currently is the only way Americans in a large swath of the country can receive the abortion care they need. There is a lot of uncertainty in the political landscape right now, but this issue should clearly be a slam dunk for Democrats, especially when Trump could use his newfound immunity to turn America into the Handmaid's Tale, throwing women and girls into prison for having an abortion, even a 13-year-old rape survivor. This is their dystopian vision. And it is built on lies about abortion care broadcast by one of the top leaders of the Republican National Convention's Platform Committee. meaning what he thinks will shape the party's official stance on key issues. And that is next.
Hey there, MSNBC fans. I'm Luke Russert, and be sure to join me, Rachel Maddow, Jen Psaki, Lawrence O'Donnell, Steve Kornacki, Joy Reid, and many more September 7th in Brooklyn, MSNBC Live Democracy 2024. Click on the link for ticket information. We will see you there.